In the matter of the Legal Profession Act 2008, motions for admission. Mr. Richard James Kingsley Dewar.
Yes, Mr. Rowe.
Good morning, Your Honours. It gives me great pleasure to move that Richard James Kingsley Dewar be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this Honourable Court.
Mr. Rowe, the Court is pleased to admit Richard James Kingsley Dewar as a lawyer and officer of the Court.
I, Richard James Kingsley Dewar, do swear that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this Honourable Court according to the best of my knowledge and ability. So help me God.
Ms. Sandy Lynn Lloyd.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that Sandy Lynn Lloyd be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this Honourable Court.
Mr. Williams, the Court is pleased to admit Sandy Lynn Lloyd as a lawyer and officer of the Court.
I, Sandy Lynn Lloyd, do swear that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this Honourable Court according to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
Mr. Kai Huan T.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that Kai Huan T be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this Honourable Court.
Mr. Williams, the Court is pleased to admit Kai Huan T as a lawyer and officer of the Court.
I, Kai Huan T, do sincerely declare and affirm that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this Honourable Court according to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Ms. Storm Kimberly Natuane Vial.
Yes, Ms. Chop.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that Storm Kimberly Natuane be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this Honourable Court.
Ms. Chop, the Court is pleased to admit Storm Kimberly Gatuane Vile as a lawyer and officer of the Court.
I, Storm Kimberly Gatuane Vile, do sincerely declare and affirm that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this Honourable Court according to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Ms. Scarlett Elizabeth Reynolds.
Yes, Mr. Paxman.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that Scarlett Elizabeth Reynolds be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this Honourable Court.
Mr. Paxman, the Court is pleased to admit Scarlett Elizabeth Reynolds as a lawyer and officer of the Court.
I, Scarlett Elizabeth Reynolds, do swear that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this Honourable Court according to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
Mr. Donovan Francois Castellin.
Yes, Ms Macaulay.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that Donovan Francois Castellan be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this honourable court.
Ms Macaulay, the court is pleased to admit Donovan Francois Castellan as a lawyer and officer of the court.
I, Donovan Francois Castellan, do swear that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this honourable court, according to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
Ms Stephanie Kate Bruce.
Ms Macaulay.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that Stephanie Kate Bruce be admitted as an officer and lawyer of this honourable court.
Ms Macaulay, the court is pleased to admit Stephanie Kate Bruce as a lawyer and officer of the court.
I, Stephanie Kate Bruce, do swear that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this honourable court, according to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
Ms Amanda Jane Pentreath.
And again, Ms Macaulay.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that Amanda Jane Pentreath be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this honourable court.
Ms Macaulay, the court is pleased to admit Amanda Jane Pentreath as a lawyer and officer of the court.
I, Amanda Jane Pentreath, do swear that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this honourable court, according to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
Ms Fiona Catherine Ellis.
Yes, Ms Huber.
Thank you, Your Honours. It gives me great pleasure to move that Fiona Catherine Ellis be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this honourable court.
Ms Huber, the court is pleased to admit Fiona Catherine Ellis as a lawyer and officer of the court.
I, Fiona Catherine Ellis, do swear that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this honourable court, according to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
Mr Joshua Muljo-Harjo.
Yes, Mr Keane.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that Joshua Muljo-Harjo be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this honourable court.
Mr Keane, the court is pleased to admit Joshua Muljo-Harjo as a lawyer and officer of the court.
I, Joshua Muljo-Harjo, do swear that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this honourable court according to the best of my knowledge and ability. So help me God.
Mr Raymond Johnstone.
Yes, Mr Johnstone.
Thank you, Your Honours. Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that my brother Raymond Johnston be admitted as a lawyer and an officer of this honourable court.
Mr Johnston, the court is pleased to admit Raymond Johnston as a lawyer and officer.
Thank you, Your Honours.
I, Raymond Johnston, do swear that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this honourable court, according to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God.
Ms. Tessa Kathleen Cremond.
Yes, Mr. Hicks.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that Tessa Kathleen Crammond be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this honourable court.
Mr. Hicks, the court is pleased to admit Tessa Kathleen Crammond as a lawyer and officer of the court.
I, Tessa Kathleen Crammond, do swear that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this honourable court according to the best of my knowledge and ability. So help me God.
Ms. Nicole Marie Rabling.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move my daughter, Nicole Marie Rabling, be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this honourable court.
Ms. Rabling, the court is pleased to admit Nicole Marie Rabling as a lawyer and officer of the court.
I, Nicole Marie Rabling, do sincerely declare and affirm that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this honourable court according to the best of my knowledge and ability. Thank you.
Ms. Giselle Baptista Francis.
Yes, Ms. King.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that Ms. Giselle Baptista Francis be admitted as a lawyer and officer of this honourable court.
Ms. King, the court is pleased to admit Giselle Baptista Francis as a lawyer and officer of the court.
I, Giselle Baptista Francis, do swear that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this honourable court according to the best of my knowledge and ability. So help me God.
Ms. Sumita Sen Hill.
Yes, Ms. Graziotti.
Your Honours, it gives me great pleasure to move that Ms. Sumita Sen Hill be admitted as a lawyer and an officer of this honourable court.
Ms. Graziotti, the court is pleased to admit Sumita Sen Hill as a lawyer and officer of the court.
I, Sumita Sen Hill, do sincerely declare and affirm that I will truly and honestly conduct myself in my practice as a lawyer and as an officer of this honourable court to the best of my knowledge and ability.
On behalf of the whole court, I extend our congratulations to all of you who have been admitted to the legal profession this morning as officers of this court. You will no doubt all be justly proud of this achievement, which comes following years of commitment to hard work and the study of the law. I'm sure that I can also express on your behalf and on behalf of the court the debt of gratitude to those family and loved ones who have supported and encouraged you on the journey that brings you here today. No one makes such journeys on their own, and for this reason your family, friends, teachers and mentors are entitled to share in this achievement today. You are now officers of this court. As officers of the court, you have become an integral part of the third arm of government, the independent judiciary. That is one of the reasons why today's ceremony is conducted in public and your solemn promises are made before the court publicly. Today you also take your rightful place as part of the legal profession. A strong independent legal profession is essential to a strong independent judiciary, without which the rule of law and our democratic system of government could not long survive. The rule of law is what enables us to avoid anarchy at one extreme and tyranny at the other. You will no doubt all be aware of the line from Shakespeare's Henry VI, Part 2, quote, "The first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers." What you should remember, of course, is that those words were spoken by Dick the Butcher, a supporter of Jack Cade, a rebel and killer. Getting rid of lawyers is what rebels and tyrants always want to do, because it is lawyers who hold justice as their first duty. As members of the legal profession, I trust that justice will be your first priority. Membership of the profession brings with it, of course, many benefits. You now have rights of audience in courts that you did not have before. You have the right to provide legal advice, and you have the capacity to earn a good living through the exercise of your work and skill as a lawyer. You will also, I hope, enjoy the benefits of contributing to the lives and well-being of your clients and enjoy the satisfaction of interesting and challenging work. With these great benefits, of course, there are important responsibilities. As members of the legal profession, you have a responsibility to uphold and to continue its traditions and its ethical principles. Those principles begin with the need to act fairly, honestly, and courteously. Your commitment to the truth in the service of justice is the currency with which you will acquire your professional reputation. You should value that reputation and remember that it contributes to the reputation of the profession as a whole. So take the time to immerse yourself in the traditions of the profession, in its history and the principles which guide it. To do so, you should become actively involved in the affairs of the profession, including by joining the Law Society and the Piddington Society. I can assure you that it won't be long before you are the leaders in the profession and will need to instill those principles in those that follow you. As members of the profession, you have an obligation to serve the community as a whole. This is not an optional extra. It is essential to what you are as a lawyer. Many of you will be familiar with the Latin phrase pro bono publico, meaning for the benefit of the public. It is used to describe legal work carried out for no or reduced fees. Such work has a long and proud history in the legal profession. Can I suggest, however, that the phrase itself has a hidden danger of which we should be wary? For it seems to imply that other legal work is somehow not for the benefit of the public. Nothing could be further from the truth. Of course, some of you, I hope all of you, will be drawn to provide pro bono legal services to disadvantaged or vulnerable members of the community. I encourage you to do so. There is an ever-present need for such services in the community. But our obligation of service does not begin and end at that kind of pro bono work. The commitment to service should be a part of all that you do as a lawyer. Some of you, for example, will work in areas of the law where you will need to provide service to members of the community inexpensively and efficiently. In circumstances where your commitment to providing legal advice or representation at an affordable price will mean the difference between a person vindicating their rights or having them defeated. Some of you will work in government, contributing to the lawful exercise of public power and the trust in our public institutions. And some of you will work in large global law firms, advising on complex commercial transactions critical to the growth of the economy and the prosperity of the society as a whole. There as well, your sense of service and your debt to the profession must be the starting point of everything that you do. In all of these areas, the administration of justice is your direct responsibility. As a former Chief Justice of the High Court, Sir Gerard Brennan, once remarked, "The law is administered more frequently and more directly by legal advisers than it is by judges." Never lose sight of this fact. What you are doing in your work is administering the law and administering justice. Not only when you are assisting the court to do so, but doing it directly yourselves. Every time a lawyer provides frank, independent and accurate advice to a client that resolves a problem, however large or small, they are directly administering justice. That is how you should view all of your work and its importance. As members of the legal profession, you will also inevitably become ambassadors for the courts and for the legal profession in the wider community. If it hasn't happened already, I can assure you that as a lawyer, family, friends and even passing acquaintances will want you to explain or justify some aspect of the legal system. The law and the courts are very often the centre of public discussion and at times public controversy, and it's vitally important that that discussion and that debate is informed, because public confidence in and the administration and public understanding of the administration of justice are essential to the fabric of our society. So when you are asked or become involved in these discussions, take them as vital opportunities to contribute to a better understanding of the law and to the public's confidence in the law and its institutions. The community as a whole will be better for it. And finally, enjoy your work as a legal practitioner. It is a fine and noble calling, and practised well will bring great satisfaction and fulfilment. Always remember to take time to celebrate a job well done and to share your experiences, good and not so good, with your colleagues. It all contributes to the health of the profession as a whole. And of course, you should enjoy the celebrations that you will no doubt have with family and friends later today. You have certainly earned it. On behalf of the court, I again congratulate you and wish you well in your future careers as part of the legal profession in this state. The court will now adjourn.